The White House climate change report released on Black Friday, obviously as a way to try and bury the news. But it did show us that, yes, in fact, the Trump climate policies will cost Americans $500 billion a year in increased sickness and death, coastal property damages, and loss of worker productivity, among other issues. Now, while most of Fox News, of course, also buried this news, there was, in fact, one voice of reason. That tends to be the occasional voice of reason on Fox News, and that's Shep Smith. Here is his actual fairly good story on this climate change report.
Heat waves are getting stronger, floods are growing larger, wildfires are obliterating more of America's landscape. It's because of climate change that's largely man-made. Our burning of fossil fuels is damaging planet Earth, and the time to stop it is running out. By the end of the century, climate change could shrink the U.S. economy by hundreds of billions of dollars. That is the warning in a new report released on Friday ahead of schedule by the Trump administration. The government report has found that climate change has doubled the destruction from wildfires in the American Southwest. It warns farmers you could see your crops devastated by droughts and heavy rain in the decades to come. According to this new government report, rising seas and storms could force tens of millions of Americans to move within the next century, and that some coastal cities are already seeing the effects. The report also predicts extreme heat waves will get much worse, and that cities including Phoenix could have blistering triple-digit temps 150 days out of the year by the end of this century. The climate science is accepted science. Governments across the nation are spending billions of dollars preparing for what is to come. The U.S. military, too, billions of dollars. This is not a political issue. It's science. But some have made it political, especially Republicans. And as a result, a lot of folks have missed this report. It was dropped, as I said, ahead of schedule on Black Friday, when a lot of Americans are busy shopping, eating Thanksgiving leftovers, and spending time with the family. But it's extremely important.
This was actually a great report on climate change from Fox News. Maybe the best report I've seen from Fox News on climate change. Now, I don't want to make it sound like this is Fox News now, and all of a sudden they are now listening to science and data and facts. No, this is really just Shep Smith and his reporting. But I also want to point out that this is rare even among the other networks, among MSNBC and CNN. Yes, they will talk about climate change more often, but it's still fairly rare. And even NBC will have on completely corrupted individuals like Danielle Pletka of the American Enterprise Institute to essentially create doubt around the idea of climate change policy. Watch this.
So from the standpoint of those who have doubts about this, and I don't think we can have any doubts that there is climate change, whether it's anthropogenic, I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I look at this as a citizen, and I see it, so I understand it. On the other hand, we need to also recognize that we just had two of the coldest years, the biggest drop in global temperatures that we've had since the 1980s, the biggest in the last 100 years. We don't talk about that because it's not part of the agenda. The United States has been dropping in CO2 emissions since we pulled out of Paris. There are actually good things that are happening. We are not using dirty coal anymore. It's the Europeans who are using dirty coal. There actually is some corporate leadership on this. Yes, we need to deal with these problems. Yes, we need to mitigate the things we see, but we shouldn't be hysterical.
This is a terrible person, and let me explain why. So Danielle Pletka of the American Enterprise Institute, her job here is to try and create doubt around the idea of climate change policy. But do it in a way where she sounds reasonable to people that are uneducated on the issue. So anybody who doesn't really know the details of climate change may listen to her and think, oh, that sounds reasonable. Yeah, I mean, maybe we are doing fine. But if you go into the actual, the data on what American Enterprise Institute does and has done in the past, this is what they do. So this is a report from 2007. Scientists and economists have been offered $10,000 each by a lobby group funded by one of the world's largest oil companies to undermine a major climate change report due to be published today. Letters sent by the American Enterprise Institute an ExxonMobil funded think tank with close links to the Bush administration, offered the payments for articles that emphasized the shortcomings of a report from the UN's Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. Travel expenses and additional payments were also offered. The AEI has received more than $1.6 million from ExxonMobil, and more than 20 of its staff have worked as consultants to the Bush administration. Lee Raymond, a former head of ExxonMobil, is the vice chairman of AEI's board of trustees. So this is what they do. The whole idea is to go on a place like NBC, where you think they would have intelligent conversations about these issues, and then go and sow doubt about the science around climate change. So let me just refute some of the bullshit she said in that clip. So the long-term trend is what matters here when it comes to the science on climate change. So she talked about how, the previous 2 years have been the coldest, just the coldest months on record, or the coldest years on record. Just complete bullshit. So when you look at the actual data, the global average temperature goes up and down every year, but the long-term trend shows rapid warming. 2017 was the third hottest year on record, behind 2016 and 2015. So no, there is not all of a sudden this global cooling happening. The trend is going warmer and warmer and warmer. And of course, every year it's going to be up and down a bit. But the overall trend, which is what climate science looks at, is that the Earth is getting warmer. So these sorts of people that go on TV to deny it, and Trump will do this as well, or conservatives will do this. They'll look at, but look at last year. 2017, it wasn't as warm as it was the previous years. Sure, but it was the third warmest year ever on record. And if you look at the trend, it's getting warmer and warmer and warmer and warmer. Look at the trend overall over the past 50 years. It's getting warmer and warmer and warmer. This is just what the data shows us. So to have somebody like Shep Smith on Fox News tell us the honest truth, the reality about what is happening, and have Danielle Pletka on NBC's Meet the Press, the prestigious Meet the Press, feed us this bullshit, and for them to allow her to be on when they are taking this sort of money from ExxonMobil, they continue to take this sort of money from oil giants and the Koch brothers, so that they can go on television and create this doubt around climate change. I mean, this should not be a news organization that people look to for information. This is pure propaganda. For Chuck Todd to not even point out at any point, say that, yeah, but you take money from ExxonMobil and the Koch brothers, I mean, doesn't that affect your views here? For him to not say anything about that, for him to not refute her on the actual data, the actual science about the planet warming. I mean, why is Chuck Todd being paid millions of dollars to host a show on NBC? I mean, it should be his job to push back on this kind of bullshit. But because we have shitty people in media that allow this sort of crap to be aired and to go unchallenged, we have an electorate that continues to be dumbed down, even by networks that are supposed to be informing them. So even on an issue like climate change, you have Fox News getting it right, at least in one segment, and you have NBC's Meet the Press that is supposed to be the high class, the more trustworthy show and network, getting it wrong.